Scanning for audio.
He was a Canadian, I think, wasn't he? Or
I don't know.
Oh no, perhaps he came from Newcastle.
Doctor Who, Myths and Legends, Disc 2, Underworld.
Welcome once again to another Tin Dog podcast, dealing with the second disc, the second story, from what some people have called the bottom of the barrel boxed set. And again, like last time, it's my opinion that we're being a little bit harsh on these stories, although of the three, this is still my least favourite. Today I'll be talking about Underworld. But before I do, I just want to say that it looks like I might be going to Who at Fab Cafe. That's Fab Cafe in Manchester, where the guests so far include Sarah Sutton, the Colin Baker, Nick Courtney and a host of others. I'll be keeping you informed and reporting back on that once I've attended. The new Doctor Who, with Mr. Smith, looms ever closer to us. But before we arrive there, I just want to talk about Underworld.
They too will answer the question of the sword. Continue.
No!
Into the tunnels, you'll never beat them here. Kill her. Kill them. Kill her. Kill them. Gate patrol. Break out. Slaves. Stop them.
Yes, to many people in the UK, Underworld isn't a Doctor Who story. It's in fact the name of the knicker factory in Coronation Street. You can make your own gags up if you want about that. Feel free. I'll just sit back and let you get on with it. This story, according to the making of on the disc, is dogged by hyperinflation, something that we could well be suffering from right now, and we still may suffer from at some point. You see, in the 70s, Doctor Who was allocated a budget of X thousands of pounds, and then by the time it came to making the episode, X thousands of pounds just wasn't worth the same amount of cash that it was. It just couldn't quite buy what it once could. And so they had a problem. Do they A, abandon the production of one of the stories in the season and spread the money about, or B, find a new way of making a series? Now, Doctor Who had used blue screen or colour separation overlay or CSO before, things like the Green Death, but they'd been used in moments rather than whole stories. The idea was simple. The story here has one or two main sets and a lot of corridors. These corridors are caves, and that's what would be most cash-consuming. If they saved money with that by using colour separation overlay and having the characters basically appear against a green screen or a blue screen or whatever colour they decided on, they'd be able to spend the money on models and on standing sets. The decision was made. It was a new director. The production team didn't want to appear weak. You didn't want that on their record. So they set about making the story. And as far as fans are concerned, we only seem to remember the dodgy blue screen. K9 apparently hovering, his colours coming in and out. The Doctor and everyone in the whole episode appearing to be sort of slightly fuzzy when they talk. But let's not discuss that. Let's face it. Doctor Who was never supposed to be about the effects. It's all supposed to be about the story. And here we have a story that deals with, well, the Time Lord's version of the Prime Directive and what caused it. We also have a story that is basically a retelling of lots and lots of Greek myths, specifically of the Jason and the Argonaut myth, the tree at the end of the universe, world, whatever, read into it as you wish. Characters with names taken straight from myths. The P7E, the Persephone, yeah, well, you can see what they were trying to do there. Jackson is Jason, Orpheus is Orpheus, even his gun with the ability to pacify is similar to Orpheus's pipes that are allowed to tame wild beasts. It's not just Greek myths here. There is the Flying Dutchman, There's touches of Christianity and even Norse mythology here, but the basic plot is still not the strongest. The Doctor and here Leela join the crew of the P7E on their quest. Yeah, Bob Baker and Martin usually have a catchphrase in their scripts. Things like, Eldrad must live and contact has been made. Well, here the catchphrase is, the quest is the quest. Yeah, the quest truly is the quest here. You can't really argue with that. The quest also goes on just a bit much. Yes, these people have got regeneration technology and, K9 is used properly in this plot, but it still just doesn't work. Historically speaking, even RTD managed to have a whole page in Doctor Who magazine dedicated to how much he'd really hated this story at some point in his life, and eventually through desperation he ended up watching it one night and discovered a new love for the story. And with that in mind I sat down to watch it. And again it's better than I remember, but is that a great reason to watch it? Well, yes. Ignore the wobbly effects. Doctor Who should not be about effects. Look at the concepts. Or should that be feel them? Oh, who cares? Suffice to say, it's better than you remember. It's not as bad as everyone makes out, but it's still not the best story in the world. So what extras do you get on this disc? Well, a rather neat little making of, called Into the Unknown, which explains hyperinflation and the way it was all built, and talks, sadly not in as much detail as I'd like, about how truly wonderful the model shots are in this. I mean, they are great. Underworld in the studio is scrounged from your old U-matic or VHS tapes, and is the sort of thing you'll probably watch once, and then probably not watch again. Standard photo galleries, PDFs, and of course the Coming Soon, which has the same one as the other discs. Creature from Pit. Something that is worth doing on this disc, however, is the commentary. Tom Baker and Louise Jameson are joined by Bob Baker, yes, Mr. K9 himself, and have a rather jolly time. It's not a classic, again, but it is worth listening to. Tom's on form, and they do talk about how much they weren't quite getting on. This was, after all, the time when Louise Jameson had announced she was leaving. So give it a go, why don't you? Before I go, here's a Whostrology. A Whostrology reading for Chris Phone, born on the 30th of October, 1987. Born in the time of the 7th Doctor with Ace in your first house. Stories shown on your birthday. You were born between Paradise Towers and Delta and the Bannermen, on the anniversary of Mythmakers Episode 3 and The Deadly Assassin Episode 1. Your Whostrology. Look after your bees. They may vanish eventually. Some magical mystery tour buses really are a mystery themselves. Someday your prince may enter your life from an unexpected place. A redhead will leave you for a bearded man. Don't worry, as a better friend is close at hand. Why not use an old idea to solve a problem at hand? You will not be able to ignore a call from home when the news rocks you off your feet. Don't let people mock your mode of transport. And with that, I'll fade away until next time, when I'll be talking about perhaps the most massively misunderstood Doctor Who story of all time, Horns of the Naimon. Be seeing you.
Radio from Yarrow.
Hello there, this is Tony Galashaw on behalf of the Doctor Who Podcaster Alliance, an alliance of Who podcasts held together simply by people being terribly nice to each other, quite frankly. The end of March, 27th of March, at Waterstones. Is it Lakeside in Thurrock, or is it Thurrock in Lakeside? One or the other. I think it's Lakeside in Thurrock. Are holding a signing with the Colin Baker, Anique Wills, and I think it's Paul Stone from the Shooty Dog Thing fanzine, which we've mentioned in the past. The Shooty Dog Thing's now got a book out, which we've been encouraging you to go and buy, and they're holding a signing there. And the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance will be there, and we're going to be recording a podcast live there and then. Sat around a table, looking quite sad, really. There'll be myself, there will be Professor Dave with no last name, and also our chief scientist, Adam Purcell, over at staggeringstories.net. There might be more people as well. well, apart from recording it between the three of us, we're going to be coming into the audience, the queue. We're going to be talking to people, getting their views and their opinions on various things. So come along. I think to get something signed, you've got to buy Colin's book, but it's quite a good book anyway. It's a collection of his writings for the Bucks Free Press, and yeah, it could be a good, fun few hours, basically. So if you can make it, please do come up and say hello. Well, yes, the podcast itself will be available to any of the members of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. It's practically every Doctor Who podcast, and if they want to run it, they're more than welcome to. The Doctor Who Podcaster Alliance, the alliance that likes a nice cup of... No, hang on. We pod so you don't have... No, guys, we really need to come up with a slogan.
You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.